Good morning. Welcome to Brunch with Brian, your daily live stream. We were doing some business this morning, so I want to talk about paperwork a little bit and communication between you and your buyers and sellers, and making sure that the paperwork is right because, you know, things happen and you want to make sure that you're covered. So paperwork is important, and what you say and what you text to people is important too. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in depth, and I'm going to use an example deal of ours that we're working on right now that is an interesting example, and you guys want to be aware of this. It's also Tulip Day. I just wanted to show you these great tulips. They're not in their full glory, I'm sorry, but we got these for Mother's Day, so isn't that nice? It's Tulip Day, and we have a whole nice big bunch of tulips there. So that, I think Kale, our son Kale and Amy got that for us. So it's Ascension and it's Stevie Wonder's birthday, and there's some other things, but I'm not going to take a lot of time with that. So when you are doing the initial paperwork, what gives people the right to buy the property is the purchase option agreement. When you're dealing with buyers, I'm just going to talk about buyer paperwork right now, because a buyer is someone that you're going to continue to deal with on an ongoing basis for some potentially extremely long period of time. So it depends on what your financing situation is with the seller. Obviously, we like to get the longest possible term from our seller. And so if we can get, 5 years or 10 years, you don't have to pressure your buyer usually, but you always only give them 1 year. So, and the reason we only give them 1 year mainly is because you can't always anticipate the appreciation in your market. So if you had a $200,000 house, for instance, 2 years ago, and the appreciation in your area is about 15%, which is actually, it's crazy, but that's actually not unusual over the last couple of years. So how much would that house be worth now? So if that house went up 15% the first year and it was $200,000, now all of a sudden that house is worth what? $230,000. 15% for every 100,000, that raises the price 15,000. So all of a sudden that's a $230,000 house. And then another year of 15% appreciation. So you're compounding your interest, even that other 30,000. So this property is worth now $265 potentially, $270, who knows, the market's a little fluid. But if you had told that person that they can buy the house for $200 and they had a 24-month option period, then you would not be making the most money you could. You'd be giving them a lot of the appreciation over the last couple of years. So again, my big point on this is whenever you're doing a deal with a lease purchase buyer, only give them 12 months. Now, if somebody really, really wants 24 months, you can do it, but I want you to do two things. I want you to try to collect the biggest non-refundable option deposit you can, because tell them this is way outside of our program. We don't normally do 24 months. We really only do 12 months. But if they're giving you a large non-refundable option deposit and they ask for it, I would agree to it. But I want you to do one other thing. I want you to write 2 purchase option agreements. Okay, I want you to write 1 purchase option agreement that expires in 12 months. And that's for, let's say you're selling the house, let's say for $200,000. So if the house is worth $200,000, you should be asking probably about $2,099 or even more in a hot market like this. Okay, so you're going to give them that price of $2,099, let's say, but you only give it to them for 12 months. Then in 12 months, you're going to just, usually what we do in 12 months is we do not renegotiate the price for another 12 months. We just try to ignore the situation, hoping it'll go away. Hopefully they basically, after the 12 months is up, we are still going to sell them the house if they want it, but they don't have an existing option agreement or a valid option agreement. Also, if they did anything to breach that option agreement, for instance, if they're supposed to give you 20,000 down and they didn't give you 20,000 down, they don't have a valid option on that property. If they were supposed to pay you, and a lot of times we'll structure something, if they don't have all the money right now, we'll structure the purchase option agreement with some other payments, like a payment of $5,000 or $10,000 in 3 months, or when you get your tax returns, I need another $5,000. Now, if that second payment isn't made and it's in the purchase option agreement, or there's a series of payments to be made and those aren't made, that again, those things render the purchase option agreement invalid. So they can't buy at that price unless you still want to sell it to them for that price. You know, maybe you still have a meeting of the minds. Now, I'm guessing if you are, you know, an investor right now and you've had a property for a year and you've had somebody in there a year, you're probably hoping they don't buy it within that year and that they just roll over because the property values have appreciated so much that you might have given them too good of a deal. And so we have a similar deal to this right now where a property has appreciated dramatically and, you know, there's a buyer who all of a sudden says, I'd like to get that old price. There's issues with it. There's an expiration issue and there's also non-compliance. Again, he didn't do all the things that he was supposed to do in the purchase option agreement, basically not paying us a really large option deposit that he'd agreed to pay. So if people do not follow through on the agreement, or if you write it, you know, or if you keep it to 12 months, you're pretty safe and you're just going to be able to name the price. Now, once that 12-month period has gone by, the buyer may come back to you. They might say, hey, I would like to renegotiate and I would like to get another, and they might want an extension at the same price. You obviously have to look at what the comps tell you and price it, you know, accordingly for another 12 months. Or you can write, and I started telling you this, you can write 2 purchase option agreements if they want that 2-year term. So you write the one for 12 months and that's for, you know, 2099, let's say. And then you write another one for 12 to 24 months. And that one would be 224.9 or whatever you want to move the price up to. But I definitely give yourself, you know, a pretty good chunk of appreciation over that time. So again, to wrap it up, if a person wants 24 months, you can say yes, but you write 2 purchase option agreements, one for one price that's good for 12 months, and one for a slightly increased price that's good for 24 months. Okay, so that's how you construct the deal so that you don't lose the benefit of the appreciation, especially in a hot market. Okay, and now make sure your paperwork's clean and make sure that remember the main things you're signing with your buyer are the lease agreement. It's called the real property possession and lease agreement. All that is rules of the lease. So that doesn't even have any numbers in it. Then you've got the lease rider, and that has how much they pay per month and how long the term is for. Again, how long is it for? 12 months, that's right. Okay, unless they demand, you know, longer. Okay, so now, right, those 2 pieces of paper, there's nothing in those 2 pieces of paper that even indicate that they have any right to buy the house at any price. It's only that one piece of paper called the real estate purchase option agreement that gives them the right to buy the house at a certain price. You're going to write the price on there. And now be careful, because on the actual purchase option agreement that you pull off the Gold Club, it does not have a date in there, but there's something in the lease option, or basically it's a little confusing here, that says that when the lease expires, the option expires. I've actually put another line in that option agreement where I say when the option expires. Okay, just so it's real clear. Option will be, will continue until blank date. Okay, so the purchase option agreement, though, that has 2 terms on it. It has the purchase price, and it has the down payment, and which is the non-refundable option deposit until they qualify, and then when they qualify, it becomes their down payment. So I want you to be a little bit careful when you deal with buyers. Make sure to get the paperwork right, just those 3 pieces of paper. And again, if you're going to give them 24 months, you got 2 of the real estate purchase option agreements. Okay, it really sometimes comes down to the paperwork, and if you're gonna have any kind of issues later, getting the paperwork right pretty much protects you. The paperwork is very well constructed with lots of protection for you. So just be smart, follow exactly what I told you today, or you might regret it. So be smart with your paperwork and try to have good communication. And another thing, just don't make any promises you can't keep. That's a really good thing. That's one of the smartest things Ron teaches that we learned from Ron LeGrand. And he says, don't make any promises you can't keep. So be careful what you text and be careful what you say verbally to people, because you'll give them the wrong idea sometimes if you're not careful. So that's another big lesson for today. Okay, lots of important lessons for today. All right, guys, so it's Thursday. So later today we have Thursdays Live with the Wolffs. That's going to be great. As always, a lot of fun, and we'll be out at a property and going through that. And we have some new stuff today that'll be really interesting for you. So make sure you tune in for that. And as always, Brunch with Brian's with me on the weekday mornings. So until I see you next, keep expecting success, getting awesome training right here. Got a lot of good training today. And as always, taking action.